Corndale kids, welcome. It is fantastic to have you back with us today as we're going to finish up the story of Jonah. As you have joined me for this month of September, we've been going through the story of Jonah bit by bit and seeing how his story impacts us today. First, we learned that when the Lord told Jonah to go and speak out against the great city of Nineveh, this is where Jonah chose to disobey God rather than to obey God. We saw that just as Jonah had a choice about whether or not to obey God, we have the same choice when God speaks to us. We can disobey God or we can obey God. From there, we continued in Jonah's story and saw that he tried to flee from God by boarding a ship, but the Lord sent a great storm against the ship, which then led to Jonah being thrown overboard by the crew of the ship. It was then that Jonah was swallowed up by a great fish and then spent 3 days in the fish, and then 3 days later the great fish spit Jonah back out onto shore. From that we learn that the Lord disciplines us, but is with us in the discipline. Now when we get to today's lesson, this is where we will see that we need to share God's message with everyone. So open up your Bibles to the book of Jonah, go to chapter 3, pause the video if you need to, and join me when you're there. All right, Jonah 3, 1 through 5. Then the word of the Lord came to Jonah the second time, saying, "Arise, go to Nineveh, that great city, and call out against it the message that I will tell you." So Jonah arose and went to Nineveh, according to the word of the Lord. Now Nineveh was an exceedingly great city, 3 days' journey in breadth. Jonah began to go into the city, going a day's journey, and he called out, "Yet 40 days and Nineveh shall be overthrown." And the people of Nineveh believed God. They called for a fast to put sackcloth from the greatest of them to the least of them. Jonah received the message from the Lord that he was to go and call out against the great city of Nineveh. And this time Jonah obeyed God. And once the people of Nineveh heard the message from God, they repented of their sin, and God relented or stopped the punishment he was going to send. Now, how does this apply to our theme today, that we need to share God's message with everyone? Now, does anyone remember a while back when we talked about the Assyrians and who they were? Now, the people who lived in the city of Nineveh were the Assyrians, and the Assyrians were not nice people. In fact, they did lots of evil things to the people they ruled over, and this included Jonah and the Israelites. So it wasn't easy for Jonah to go to the city of Nineveh. It's not only that, but we learn from chapter 4 that the reason Jonah didn't want to go to Nineveh in the first place is that he knew God was merciful and slow to anger, and that he would relent from bringing the disaster that he said he was going to if the people repented. You heard me right. Jonah ran from God in the first place because he did not like the Assyrians and wanted God to punish them. Because he knew that if the Assyrians repented, which they did, that God would stop the punishment he was going to bring. We need to share God's message with everyone. And that's what we'll do in our action steps, is to think about the people that we may not like or purposefully avoid, and see how we might be able to share God's message with them. Because God's message is for everyone. We are not the ones who decide if someone hears God's message or not, because God's message is for everyone. And just thank you to everyone for following along with us as we've been going through the book of Jonah. I pray that you've been edified and encouraged by it, and that you, if you haven't done so already, be sure to take some time and read the book of Jonah, and we'll see everyone next time.